Last week we started a new series. What was it called? Who said it? Somebody said it. Keep your love on. But guess what? To keep our love on, what do we have to do first? We have to turn it on. Love yourself, turn it on. Who said turn it on? They get the gold star, Karen Miller, all right. We have to turn it on. When we speak of love, though, in today's society, it can mean any number of things, right? I love sushi. I love the Ducks. I love NASCAR. I love my wife. I mean, obviously, I love my wife more than sushi and NASCAR, right?
She's not here, it's okay.
Did anybody, what was wrong with that statement? I said I love my wife more than sushi and NASCAR.
But not the Ducks.
Boom! But not the Ducks. But I do. I love her more than the Ducks too. I believe most of us today would say that our spouse, our kids, our family know that we love them. But do they? Do they really? And if so, how? How do they know? Jesus, we know, is the perfect model of love, right? We know that for sure. In fact, we know God not only loves, God what? Is love. God is love. We never, ever, ever, we might wonder, but we should never have to wonder whether God's love for us is strong and present, because it always is. It always is. But how do we know, capital K-N-O-W, if our family and our friends really love us? Of course, they say they do, but what are the external signs? You know, they would say, oh yeah, hey, I'm making a point a lot of times when I talk to people on the phone or wherever it may be. If I'm talking to Susan, all right, Susan, it was great talking to you, all right? I love you. And she'll say, I love you. And it's like, oh, it feels good, right? But I think there's a big difference. Don't you think there's a difference between I love you and love ya? Love ya is like, I don't think you really do. You know, it's like, okay, Susan, it's been great talking to you. I love you. She goes, I love you. Versus, all right, Susan, it's been great to talk to you. Love you. You know, it's kind of like, okay. You know, do you? But these signals, though, these external signs, they can actually show love for people. How many of you read or are familiar with the book I talked about last week? Remember, this book's called Keep Your Love On by Danny Silk. He references another book by Gary Chapman, which I think is amazing. The 5 Languages of Love. How many of you have either read it or know about it? It's a great book. In the book, Chapman describes the 5 categories of behavior that we use to send and receive messages of love. And the more we're aware of how we're doing this, the more we can take responsibility for these messages that we send and we receive from those that we love. So, the 5 languages of love are, and I usually forget at least one, just like I always forget. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote that book called On Death and Dying, and she came up with the 5 stages of grief, and I always forget at least one of them. Anger, bargaining, acceptance, something. Anyway, with the 5 languages of love, I wrote them down. So, here they are. Touch, gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and my old favorite, acts of service. Ooh, I love that one. So now you know what mine is. These types of relationship fuels fill the love tanks of everyone differently. Every person usually has one primary way they send and receive love. And this primary fuel fills their love tank. And we know, though, those of us that are even slightly mechanically involved, that have a knowledge of automobiles, you cannot put diesel fuel in a car that takes unleaded fuel. Just like it's important to know what people's love tanks are so we can constantly try to fill them up. So let's go to the ARCO station of relational fuel and take a closer look at each one of these. Number one, the first one is touch. People who receive love from touch need physical connection that others may or may not need. These people have a little touchometer, if you will, a touchometer that's planted in their chests. And if they go without touch for too long, their anxiety increases and they get grumpy. Sort of like people that get grumpy when they're hungry. You know, we've all been around somebody when they're hangry, right? They're hangry, they're mad, and they're angry, right? Well, this is similar. The touch people are at their best when they're touched and their love tanks are filled because they feel safe. That's how they get their feeling of safety, is touch. They feel nurtured and they feel loved. Touch people can feel disconnected and lonely even in a room of like 100 people. They can still feel lonely if their touch needs are not met. Here's the rub though. Touch, of all these 5 languages, touch is the language that's most intrusive to people's personal space. So touch people need to be aware of this. That's not my top language of love at all. As a matter of fact, I'm glad it's not Janine's either, because I'm not a big like snuggler, or you won't see Janine and I at the shops in Chino Hills like macking, all over each other on the corner. You might see us holding hands, but you won't see us like just like loving on each other, and right at the shops. So luckily, she's not necessarily a touch person. But touch is the most intrusive of these 5 gifts. So going both ways, people need to be aware of that. Number 2, my personal favorite, acts of service. These folks also have a small meter inside of their head that registers incoming and outgoing acts of kindness or service constantly. When an acts of service person enters a room, whether it be at work or home, the fellowship hall, or me down at the parsonage, the meter starts to run. And the meter is connected to a video camera in our head. Not really, but, and it scans the surroundings of the room that they just walked into and fills or depletes the love meter based on what has or has not been done for them. I mean, I know this is true too. I speak from experience because that acts of service is my number one way that I show love. And I know that the acts of service person gets that feeling because we have a housekeeper, Margarita. She comes once a month, right? She's been with us over 25 years. You know what my nirvana moment is? Every month is when Margarita leaves. And I walk in the house and it's like, oh man, I smell like that. She uses Fabuloso. I love Fabuloso. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's a cleaner, but it smells, to me, it smells clean. So I walk in the house and it's just like, I could just sit here forever like this, just surveying the house. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. When things are in order, the acts of service person is at their best. But messes deplete that tank really fast, right? The third one is gifts. Now, gifts people are constantly soaking up evidence that people in their life are thinking of them, but also know them. And the evidence lies in a physical token of love, no matter how small it might be. This token says to the gifts person that I love you and I have been thinking of you. I know what you're thinking. You guys, oh brother, I'll go broke loving a gifts person. Man, am I going to have to buy Janine, like diamond rings and diamond earrings and diamond tennis bracelets all the time? But the good news is no. Gifts people, I think, coined the term, it's the thought that counts. It's the thought. Price tag is not important to a gifts person. It is the thought. The gift is simply the means to the end of love. The cost is unimportant. Fourth, we have quality time. Quality time, people get their tanks filled when you find them interesting enough to want to spend time with them, to spend quality time with them. You see, there's a difference. If I say to Janine, I'm going to spend some quality time with you. Sit down, turn on the duck game or the NASCAR race, and sit there and have some good quality time with, John's giving me a thumbs up, with Janine. No, that's not quality time. That's not quality time. Here's the good news though. We have the opportunity to top off the quality time person's love tank just by being with them for even a short period of time. But we need to truly be with them. We need to be with them in the moment. We need to perhaps look at each other face to face with our phones in another room. Spend time. That's all it takes. Quality time is not necessarily quantity time. So you could say, I could have great quality time with Janine in 20 minutes, and I could have horrible quality time with Janine in 3 hours, depending upon if I'm in the moment or not, okay? Here's the good news. If your time with that person is all in, if you're all in, you'll see them light up like an LED light. They love that. Finally, words of affirmation. Words of affirmation, people feel most alive and appreciated when words, and not only words, but body language are positive. The words of affirmation person loves to hear these 7 words. I hope it's 7. I am glad to be with, that's 8. Hold on. I'm glad to be with, no, that's 6. Whatever. I don't care. I am glad to be with you. There. I am glad to be with you. The words of affirmation person, they love to hear those words. It brings me joy to be with you. Even one small word of encouragement or love to a words of affirmation person can make their entire day and give them all the comfort and peace they need for maybe even a couple days. So that there's the 5 languages of love boiled down into like 10 minutes. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, and we're going to talk more as we go through this. But that gives the basic aspects of each type. So so you're going, okay, pastor, preacher man, great information. Now what am I going to do with it? Okay, we're going to do a quick little exercise here. Are you ready? Take a moment and picture someone in your life, your spouse, a child, a parent, or friend. That's the other thing I want to caution. I think some people, as we go through this, might think, this sermon series it's more for couples. It isn't. It's for people in this world. We all have relationships. We all need to know how to keep our love on. I'm not just talking about couples. So take a moment, picture someone in your life, spouse, child, parent, friend, anyone you value in relationship, and think of, or even if you want, write down their top 2 languages of love. So go ahead and just take a moment. Think of someone in your life that's important to you in relationship. See if you can write down or think of what their top 2 languages of love are. It'd be touch, acts of service, gifts, quality time, words of affirmation. Janine and I did this exercise. We kind of know what each other. She knows I'm an acts of service. We kind of boiled down. Hers was words of affirmation and quality time. Thank God she's not a touch person, because I'm more of I don't like to snuggle on the couch watching a movie, just all snuggled up. I see people in the movies do that, and I think, oh, that's nice, I should do that, but it's just not me. I'm not a snuggle on the couch watch a movie kind of thing. Luckily, I don't know, Janine, if I wanted to snuggle on the couch with Janine and watch a movie, she would be all in, but I don't think that's her love language. Okay, so you guys, you got it? You got it? I think it's fun to try and guess what people's love languages are. Like, Frank and Anna from First Service, Frank's the Navy chief. He came up and I go, I bet you're an acts, during communion, probably shouldn't have. I bet you're an acts of service guy. He goes, yeah, maybe. Anyway, so keep those in mind though. So what do we do with that information? What do we do with that information now that we think we know it? And you can certainly check with your spouse or your friend or your child to say, hey, I have you pegged as a words of affirmation and a quality time person. How's that? Of course, you can't approach them out of the clear blue. You have to kind of give them a little background information. But try to, so what we can do with this information to answer the question is, we can try to fill people's love tanks whenever possible. And it's not hard to do. Trust me, it is really not hard to do. Trying to build their love tank too can be one of the best investments that you will make into any relationship, whether it be spouse, friend, child, you name it. I don't think there's a single person in here who would say that their spouse, if you're married, doesn't love them, right? But if someone were to ask your spouse, how do they know? How do they know that you love them? Would they be able to give an answer other than, I don't know, I just know he does, or I just know she does? Would they be able to give an answer more than that? Like I said, we mutually agreed that Janine's a words of affirmation and a quality time person. So what did I do with that information? Well, I had to ask myself, after 43 years of marriage, am I doing a good job of filling Janine's love tank? And the honest answer was, no. Well, I can do better is the answer. I can do better, and I'm going to try to do that. So to keep our love on, we need to first love. And to show love to those people who we value, who we cherish in our relationship. Now, we're not Jesus, so we don't love people all the time. We just don't. We're human beings, right? But we should always be moving toward connection, toward people in our relationship. But I will say this, the choice to pursue this goal of connection and this goal of keeping your love on no matter what, which is the goal here. Janet, you really made me mad the other day. She didn't, but I still love you. I love you, you know? That's our goal. The choice to pursue that type of connection and that keep our love on no matter what will bring us right up against the real battle at the core of every relationship. And it's this. It's a spiritual or a heart battle between the two most powerful forces that drive us. And the number one is love. We know that. But the second one, and it's almost diametrically opposed, fear. Fear and love, we know, cannot coexist. It says it right in the book, in the Bible. Perfect love, what? Casts out fear. So they cannot coexist. But often it feels like they do. So we're going to have to figure out how to always love instead of be in fear. Let's choose love, and next week I'll tell you how to do that. Lord, help us to be more powerful people in our relationships, but powerful like you. Power made perfect in weakness. Thank you for your gentle tide of grace and mercy that soothes and refines our rough edges. Help us to be more like you each and every day. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen, amen.